Hi everyone, in today's class I'm going to be teaching you how I make my buttercream cakes, and I start with my buttercream on my cake board. I have a 12 inches cake board which is here, and I just put a little bit of buttercream on there. What I use the buttercream for is to stick the cakes on the board, and I have my cakes here. I always like to use frozen cakes because it makes my cake a bit stable before I cover with a whole of buttercream. And I'm just going to be placing my cakes on my cake board. It's still frozen. That's it. And I use my buttercream. I just go around the edges and create a like a dome. I just go around the edges and I put a bit of buttercream in the middle. For this particular cake, I'm going to be using raspberry filling inside the cake. So after putting the buttercream inside, I'm going to be using a bit of raspberry inside the cake. And that is what my customer said he wants. Just a bit, not too much. And I'm just going to spread this round. And after doing that, I'm going to put my buttercream again to try and cover so it doesn't spill out of the cake. So you can see what our cake looks like. And I have another layer, which is the red velvet. I'm actually using red velvet and vanilla for this particular cake. So you can see what a red velvet cake looks like. I really do not need to trim the edges because it's a buttercream cake. Assuming I was working on a fondant cake, then I would have to trim it to make sure the whole cake is flat. And I'm doing the same thing on this particular red velvet. I just created the dome and just a bit in the middle because I'm still having raspberry filling come inside the cake. Like I said, it's not so much raspberry filling, just a little bit. And I'm going to put my buttercream again just to cover. You can see what our cake already looks like. And last but not the least is our vanilla cake, which is going to be the last layer on the cake. And at this point, I always make sure that the flat base is sitting on top of the two cakes, as you can all see. And once I have that seated, then I take my buttercream and my piping bag, then I go around the cake. I just go like different, like zigzag and all of that, just to cover all the crumbs on the cake. Because it's a buttercream cake, I usually do not have to trim a whole lot because I really don't like wasting a whole lot of cakes. But if it's fondant, then I always do a lot of trimmings on my cake. So at this point, this is the first layer. And once I achieve this, then I use my, would I call it smoother? But I just love this particular one. I have other types, but I think I'm just used to this one. So I just use it to smoothen out the cake before I put my dowel rod inside the cake. Then I place it back inside the fridge. I'm doing this to make sure that the buttercream covers the whole of the cake and covers all the cake crumbs on the cake. And once I'm done with this, then I place it back into the fridge. And this is actually the first step, and I think I'm done with my first step. I'm just going to place it back into the fridge before I continue with my second step. Because the buttercream I put on the cake has actually sealed in all my cake crumbs, and the cake is sliding a bit because of the raspberry inside of it, but it doesn't actually mean anything because it's going back into the fridge. We can all see what our first covering looks like, which actually sealed up all the cake crumbs, so you can see what it looks like. And this is the first step. I'll be showing you the second step once it's out of the fridge. Cake is out of the fridge now, and this is the second stage. So I just put another buttercream in my piping bag, and I filled my piping bag, and I'm just gonna take it around the cake like this. For me, this is a method that is very easy. I have other methods I use, but I think I just prefer this method because it makes my life a whole easier and faster, actually, because we work on a lot of cakes and we really don't have to waste so much time on a particular cake. So just try to work fast and smart. And you fill up all the edges, all the sides that is still open. Make sure you fill up with your buttercream. So at this point, since we have our buttercream on our cakes, and I'm just gonna be pushing down the rest we have in our piping bag, and I'll still go back to that one, and I use my smoothener again. Then I'm going round, and you keep turning your turntable. You can actually place a mat on it so your cake doesn't move. You can see it's already getting really smooth. It's really looking smooth already. And you fill in those gaps. You can see, like, if you see any gaps, any holes, you can just fill them back with your buttercream, and you continue with the same process. And I'm just going to put the rest on top of the cake, and I'm using my small spatula to go all around the cake. So at this point, I'm going to be taking my smoothener around the cake again. As you can see, our cake is already looking really smooth, but we still have some potholes around, so I'm just going to fill those places again. This is less than 20 minutes, and you can see we already have our cake looking pretty. And I'm just filling up the potholes, like the small holes on the cake, and this is going to be the last smoothing of the cake. I hope so. So I'm just gonna take my smoother around the cake once more. It's so easy. You can see we already have a cake. It's already smooth. So at this point, you can see our cake is already looking smooth. This is just within 20 minutes and less than 20 minutes, like 15 minutes actually. So I'm just gonna place this cake back into the fridge and I'll show you the final step on how I shave out the edges and I get my smooth edges, and the whole cake is looking really nice. So this is our last stage, and I have my spatula here, which is the small one, and I'm just going to be slicing the edges off of the cake. But you need to be very careful when you're doing that so you do not cut into your cake. And you take it around the second time just to get that smoothness. At this point, I work a lot with my napkins. You can see it's already looking really smooth. And that is just the work of the spatula. You can see what it looks like. And at this stage, you can use just your palette knife to remove the excess. Then do not forget your excess that you have left here, the leftovers. Then at this point, I'm just going to use my smoothener once more on the cake. You can see how smooth the cake looks like with the straight edge. It's already giving us the straight edge, and you just use your scraper to push in any excess you have on the top. Or you use your small palette knife to push them in. Make sure you always clean your spatula, and that is what is going to give you the smooth and the clean edges. So as you can see, our cake is already looking really smooth and really nice. All you have to do is clean off the edges, all the excess and the buttercream that is left on the cake board. And at this point, if you have any decorations that is going on the cake, maybe fondant, maybe it's topper, then you begin to place everything on the places that you feel that it's not really smooth. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Do not forget to subscribe and like our channel. Bye for now. Nifty fingers.